Hello everybody and welcome back to Going for Goldbridge. Is it the end of Goldbridge? Is it the end of the world as we know it? 2020 has started off on what I would say is certainly quite a dark year so far. Lots of bad things happening. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about hate on the internet, this thing that's going on as well. Lots and lots to talk about. But look, I always like to start things off with a little bit light-hearted, and I did get quite a good question. I've never asked it before. I thought it was quite good, and they said something along the lines of, is there something you wish you knew when you were younger that you know now that doesn't matter? And I was like, and my answer to that is, well, yeah, they're not all 12 inches, so don't worry about that. But in all seriousness, time goes by really quick. I was only thinking about this last night. Sometimes I just drop off to sleep. And I wake up after about half an hour, and I wish I could just sleep for 8 hours, but I've always been like that. And I woke up after about half an hour last night, and I was just lying in bed, and I thought, you know what? I remember being down the park at 8 years of age on sunny summer afternoons, playing football with my mates, thinking the world would never end. And now I just think, where's that time gone? So grab every little bit you can of it. But look, is it going to be the end of the world? Are we in that sort of area at the moment? There's a lot of, and we do live in that world at the moment, this sensationalist world, and everyone's mood is impacted by it. We can be manipulated by everything. I totally agree with that. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and they said, "What a year, 2020!" And you know who you are. I'm not going to shout you out, and I'm not going to. Well, you don't want to shout out for this, but you know who you are. What a year it's been. We've had this virus that's going round. We've had Brexit. We've had all the celebrity deaths, and Man City have been banned from Europe for 2 years. And I went, hold on a minute. You were all right. The first three, I'll give you that. But Man City banned from Europe for 2 years. One, who cares? And two, that's a little bit like comparing famine with a hole in your favourite shirt. Man City European ban doesn't really matter in the context of everything else. But a lot of those things do matter. And I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about a few things today and getting through some of your questions. But the thing I wanted to start about was the celebrity death thing, really. I think is, obviously it's very important. Death is very sad, and you never know how long you've got. And one thing I want to say first of all is, because one of the questions we got was, how do you deal with internet hate? And I think, well, it's such a broad question. You can bring in depression, you can bring in mental health, you can bring in idiots, you can bring in trolls, you can bring in so many things, and one size doesn't fit all. But what I must say is that the most important lesson I've learned is that everybody's farts smell. But we live in this world, and I've mentioned it before, where people act like it doesn't. They pontificate. You get this fake bloody output. And I say fake because I don't think people believe it's fake at the time, but you give it 2 weeks and it is fake. I ain't going to go into the names of any celebrity deaths, but we've had a couple high-profile ones this year already. And what do you see? As soon as it happens, there's an outpouring of grief, and almost like sensationalist grief for 2 or 3 days. And then give it a week and people have moved on. And the people who are really genuinely grieving have to live with that, have to live with that for months and years. And I think, and then you get all the bloody do-gooders saying, oh, look at this, tracking people's tweets and everything like that. Look at what they've said about this. Look at what they've said about this. And I think, actually, the mindset is, how stupid is it? Like people say, oh, look at the abuse they got, and then they go and abuse the people who gave them. That's just the cycle that you're not going to break, is it? But the most important thing for me is that everybody's fart smells. And as soon as you understand that, then you can start to set the parameters for the life you want to live. I accept that I'm quite forthright in my opinions about certain footballers, certain celebrities. And, I try very hard not to tread into the world of being abusive towards them, because that isn't what I want to be. But banter, telling them they're crap, yeah, I do that. I put my hand up and I do that. Am I a bad person? Am I a troll? No, I'm not any of those things. But I'm a human being, and I have faults, and I have passion, and I say things that, actually, if I was sat down with the person, would I want to say it to their face? No, because I am quite a compassionate person. But people act like they're not. People act like their farts don't smell, and that's where the problems happen. And there are many of the blue tick brigade on Twitter, especially, who pontificate like their farts don't smell, and actually they're some of the worst contributors to what goes on online. So I think that dealing with internet hate or anything like that, I think you can't put videos out or stuff like that about, effectively, if you think about some YouTubers, again, I'm not going to name people because that's just not the point, but, my dog attacked Han Solo as a video title. I don't know whether there is one like that on YouTube. And then you watch it, and actually it's their dog attacking not Harrison Ford, the real person, but a plastic figurine of Harrison Ford. Or, some families who put their kids up on YouTube and tell the whole family story. My kid was rushed to hospital as a clickable... and I don't know whether people are doing this, but you know what I mean? People, and Instagram's full of it as well, people put their lives out there, and they're not doing it because they're passionate for, filming whatever they're doing. They're doing it because they want brand deals. They're doing it because they want to make a living out of it, which there's nothing wrong with, absolutely nothing wrong with. But that's why they're doing it. Let's cut through all the crap. You're not doing it for artistic reasons. You're not doing it to have a video of your life in 50 years that you can go back and watch. If it was, why is your YouTube channel public then? Put it on private. There is an option there. If you're just making a log of your family as they grow older and everything like that, or whatever you're doing, put it on private so no one else can see it. YouTube allows you to do that. You don't do that. You put it out there. And the thing is, nobody should have to put up with abuse. Nobody should, some of the abuse is ridiculous. But if you put yourself out there, you're going to get it. You are going to get it. And I must admit, the first year I started doing this, I probably didn't understand that, but I bloody understand it now. At certain levels of abuse, you are going to get, because that is human nature, and you're not going to change that. So going back to, how do we stop hate on the internet? Well, how do you stop people hating? How do you stop people hating? Well, again, people are hating for different reasons. People might have had a trauma that makes them hate other people. People might just have an illness that do that. People might just be an absolute shit. The reality is, if you go on social media, it ain't going to be all lollipop lane, candy floss clouds, it's raining Coca-Cola, that'd be sticky. You know what I mean? You're going to get a level of something. And a lot can be done. I've said before on going for Goldbridge that I believe that any social media account should be verified. You should have to give a copy of your... They can verify that you're the real person, because that would stop a lot. I think that the anonymity of some of it causes the problem. But look, I think there are people out there, I've met some of these people who get famous and live in a bubble, and then they're not capable of dealing with that bubble bursting. And that's a mental health issue. That is a mental health issue, because those people are not prepared for the bad and the good. And one of the things I've always been grateful for, and many people ask me this, because I'm a little bit older. I know I look 18, but I'm not. I had 20 years and a little bit there. But young at heart. I actually hated that song. It's one of the worst songs. There are songs that you absolutely hate when you're growing up. I hated that. Young at heart. Crap. Some of the Levi's songs. Should I stay or should I go now? And that other one. And I said, hey, yeah, 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 yeah. This video is losing it. There's some songs that absolutely depress me. But, I've lost my point now. I know where I was. So for me, the big thing is that before I started doing this, I had a life. I did a lot of jobs. I had professional jobs. Life experience. Ups and downs. I was talking to the wife last night about, when we first moved into the house before this, we overstretched ourselves a little bit. Don't worry, it was only a 3-bedroom house. We had the two girls were very young at the time. The wife was going through college as well as holding down a job. We didn't have a lot of money. We were living off like bean casserole 3 times a week and things like that. We hardly had any money. And one of my favourite lines from Only Fools and Horses, which I've said to many people before, is that, and it's so true, it's like he becomes a millionaire, and he said, it's nice being a millionaire, but it's nowhere near as nice as the journey getting here, the anticipation, the work. And that is very true. And I think, I look back on the times where we didn't have a load of money, and we haven't got loads of money now, but where we were quite poor and we were struggling, and that's where, those journeys are important, and you look back on them with pride because you've worked to get where you are today. And I think social media is full of these teenagers who are massive, and fair play to them, and I'm sure they're very well off as well, but I always worry, for me, I'm never going to be signed up by a mental health charity because they'll watch me play FIFA and swear and they'll go, oh, we don't want that. Because they're idiots. Because they don't understand what the real world is. They're like, oh, you can't be on telly because you swore. You can't be an ambassador for us because you swore. Up yours. Who are you? You know, why does the world have to be about those sort of things? Like, there are some fantastic people out there who swear a bit, who, you know, are quite blunt in their opinions, but they're the best people in the world and they're the best ambassadors in the world. And I think that is what mental health is really important to me. One, because nowhere near as bad as some people, but I have struggled with it. I have good days and I have bad days. Some people struggle with it every day, every minute, and I can't begin to understand how they get through a day feeling like that when they've had it for years and years and years. But what I do worry about are these young social media stars who have it all at a very young age and they know nothing else. I mean, imagine if I was like 16 and I'd started the United Stand and it was a lot bigger than it is now. And, you know, I had imagine I had 1 million people watching this video now. Oh, you know, how does your mind deal with that? How does your mind deal with that? But then, as is the way, 2 or 3 years of success, people get bored of you, people resent you, the media spin it, and suddenly you're public enemy number one. Or you make a mistake. You know, you go out on a night out and you do something, you know, not necessarily, you know, I'm not talking like you're going to go to prison for 30 years. I mean, you know, you swear, you punch a cameraman or something like that. And then the world spins round and you've got no experience of, all you've got an experience of is being, popular. And that's where problems happen. And how do you solve that? I just think having good people around you is really important. And I got asked somebody didn't actually put it on Twitter. They said, they DM'd me and said, you know, what's the secret to a successful marriage? And I didn't reply because I wanted to reply on this video. And I don't know whether I've got a successful marriage. I think I have. I love my wife. I love my family. What's the secret to it? I don't know. What's the secret to anything? I don't do anything different in my marriage that I do with my friendships. I can be an arsehole, not in relation to anything like abusive, but like, you know, I can be moody, can't we all? But I think that thing that I said a few minutes ago, realising that your farts smell as much as anybody else, is really important, because then you don't get the pontificating twats that really piss me off. I have faults, I also have lots of good things, and I respect people who respect me. And, you know, I'm so passionate about people that I like and I care about, and the people that I don't like, I really just don't really spend that much time thinking about them, because that generates negativity in me, and that took me a long time to realise. So I just think, you know, trying to be the best person you can be, but also realising you have faults, and so does everybody else, will put you on a path to where you want to be, I think. But these pontificating shits, I can't stand them. And pontificating means, you know, these people who come out telling you like that their farts don't smell. Like, look at me, look at them, they're so bad, and look at me telling you that they're so bad. Or like I said, you know, oh, look at us, we're an ambassador for this, but you can't be one because you swore. You know, up yours, get in the bloody real world. You know, I've done loads of things in my life, and I'm sure you lot have, and I've met so many people, and I don't have barriers on, you're a bad person because you look like that, you're a bad person because you've said that in the past. I do believe in second chances, and I think that life is littered, and history is littered with people who've made mistakes and then gone on to do great things. So, look, that was a bit of a tour de force there. I think this video, I haven't done one for a while either, have I? In regards to this virus that's going around, that people are worrying about, and is it the end of the world, and is it the end of Goldbridge, and is it the end of everything else? Well, look, I don't have any answers, but well, life is for living, isn't it? Life's for living. You can't, if you spend an hour worrying about, you know, if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you're going to die at 3 o'clock, if you spend that last hour worrying about dying at 3 o'clock, what's the bloody point? You're going to die at 3 o'clock anyway. In that last hour, do something to make it last. And, you know, that last hour could be a last year, it could be a last month, it could be 10 years, it could be whoever. Hopefully, for all of you, it could be who knows how long. But if you spend your life worrying about how long you've got left, you're gonna waste your life. You know, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking about somebody that, you know, in my life was really important, and they're dead. And I thought, and I wasn't sad in the fact, it wasn't a selfish thing. It was more about, I was thinking about them and their life, and I thought, wow, you know, what a person they were. But they were only here for a certain time, and there was thousands of years before they were here, and there's going to be thousands of years after. They were here for a certain time, and they made a difference, and now they're not here. And what is the point in that? Well, the point in that is that they did their life on their terms, and the people that mattered remember them. But in 2 lifetimes, no one will remember them. You know, if I have kids and that, they're not going to remember 3 generations ago. There's generations in my family that 2 or 3 ago I don't know anything about. That's just life. You grab what you've got. I think we get so worked up about the importances of our own life. And it is important, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. And it will be forgotten. You grab your life and you enjoy your life for what you've got. And again, I'm sort of coming from a position of maturity. But I used to worry about this, and I've said it before, I used to worry about this. You know, when I'm dead forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And when I was in my late 20s, I used to get panicky that I was going to be 30. And, it's only 30 years till I'm 60, and then I may as well be dead. You know, sorry, any 60-year-olds, that's not the truth. But the point is, I had a friend who died at just over 40, and that sort of hit me hard, not nowhere near as hard as it his family and everything like that, but it hit me hard in a way that you just don't know. You just don't know what's coming. And like that, it's gone. You can look at someone the wrong way in the street, you can get knocked by a car, you can get an illness, and it is gone. So worrying about, threats from viruses and all that lot, look, if it happens, it happens. There are things in place that I think it won't happen, and I don't think it's going to happen. But the end of anybody is inevitable. And I'll go back to what I just said. If you've got 10 minutes left, don't spend 10 minutes panicking about the end, because it's going to happen anyway. It's a mindset. Taking the fear out of something that's inevitable and enjoying everything that you've got, whether it's 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 years, however long. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it and stop worrying, because the worry, that's going to cost you in the end, isn't it? Talking about death, I got a question saying 1 dead person, 1 alive person for a meal. I thought about this. I mean, I'm wearing a classic Steve McQueen jumper here, which I absolutely love. I've worn it a few times recently, and I got it last week. So for me, the dead person would be Steve McQueen, and then the alive person, I went for Ricky Gervais, because I just think Ricky Gervais is a very funny person, and he could be really wacky, but also he is interested in a lot of things. I mean, he did a talk called Politics, didn't he? I think it'd be great conversation. Steve McQueen's the king of cool, and I sort of combine the two, funny and cool. So yeah, that would be good. And I know a lot of people are going to be shouting at me now saying, how can you go Steve McQueen and Ricky Gervais when you could go bloody Einstein and Paul McCartney? Well, for one, I can't be arsed talking to Einstein about apples, and I think I've made a big mistake there, actually. I don't think Einstein was apples, has he? Einstein was old MC squared equals 4 or something, wasn't it? And Olivia Newton-John's dad was the apple, wasn't he? Sir Isaac Newton. Gravity. And Paul McCartney, look, the Beatles, probably the most iconic pop band in the world, but he's still got a Scouse accent. So for me, it's Ricky Gervais and it's Steve McQueen. Other questions. How do you get over a hangover? Look, a hangover will always be determined by how much you drink. If you have too much, you're going to get a hangover that's really hard to cure. Little tips that I've had over the years, because look, to be honest with you, between the age of about 16 and 19, I'm a little bit worried about my liver, because I used to go out every Saturday night to the local pub and drink till I was sick. And that throughout my 20s and to now has always appalled me. Going out until you are sick, drinking till you're sick, and that I just hate being. I haven't been sick for years from drink. I've had bad hangovers, but I haven't been sick for years, and I'm so pleased about that. So yeah, the more you chuck in you, the worse the hangover's going to be. But what I tend to do is get home from the night out, drink as much water as I can, and normally pop a couple of paracetamol, and it helps. Then rehydration is the main thing. And the thing is, when you're hungover, the last thing you want to be doing is eating. But drinking lots of water. If you can stomach it, things like Lucozade and Coca-Cola, an iced bacon sandwich. You just basically want to get your carbohydrates and your sugar levels up. That always helps with me. But basically, it's not, harder to get over the older you get. What else I want to talk about? We've done that. Right, let's have a look at some of your questions. Hobbies other than football. I've done that so many times, Ezam. I could be really edgy and say porn, but no. I like watching films. To be honest with you, I don't know how you lot feel, but I just feel so swamped at the moment in relation to TV. I've got so many things that I just can't get through. I've been watching that You on Netflix, Narcos Mexico, Ozark's about to start, The Trip's coming back on with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, which I really like. There's so much coming through, and then that's stuff that you've got to watch, without stuff that's going to come through new that everyone goes, oh, this is the next big thing. There's just so much to watch at the moment. So yeah, that's my sort of downtime, to be honest with you. Breaking Bad versus Peaky Blinders. Probably Breaking Bad, I think. What colour top milk do you drink, says Charles. Green. Blue will put me in an early grave. You can't keep just drinking blue. What size waist are you, says Stevie. Oh, well, I will answer that. Because normally you get asked, there it is again. What age were you when you lost your virginity? I tell you what, I'll film it for you next time. 32-inch waist for me. And if you could change something in the UK laws, what laws would you enforce or even change, says Craig? Oh, God. Don't even get me started. I'd kick out any prat off social media who starts pontificating for a start. I can't stand it. I can't stand people who act like they're perfect. Oh, look at you doing this like they're perfect. They're not. They're absolutely not. Like, I'll guarantee you, after one of those celebrity deaths, I probably tweeted something out and went, "Oh, it's such a shame." We all fall into the trap of this fake, and it's not fake because at the time we do feel it, but in 2 weeks we don't feel it, and this. It just irritates me. I think the way to solve problems is to accept everyone's got problems and find a way through that. The worst way to try and solve a problem is to say, "Oh, look at those people, they're the problem and we're not." That's not true. Everybody I've ever met, professionally or not, has a skeleton in their closet. It might be a small skeleton, like the one you get off operation. That's not a skeleton. Like the novelty things you buy on Halloween. Or it could be it could be loads of skeletons. But everybody's got something. Everybody's got a fault. And that is where we go wrong. Because people pretend they don't. It's back where we were at the start. It's back like, if there's something, is there anything you wish you were told when you were younger that you know now? I joked at the start, well, yeah, they're not all 12 inches. Because they're not. I think the average size is 9. But really, the truth will set you free. And myths will cause you issues. And this myth that there are people out there that don't do anything wrong. Prime ministers, whatever. They've all got something that they've done wrong in the past. That's what makes us who we are. But we'll never solve all this trolling. We'll never solve all these problems in the world because everyone's chasing this myth that there's perfection out there. I actually always worry, like if you get a good, you get a really talented celebrity or a good MP, that doesn't exist. But let's pretend you get a celebrity and they're really good. They're really good at what they do. You don't need to know that. Or a footballer, because that's sort of my background. They're a really good footballer or a really good celebrity. They're brilliant at what they do, and then you go and get the old headline in the Sun or whatever that they've cheated on their wife or they've done something. They stole some money from a charity when they were in their teens. Something like that, right? It's not something that's relevant to what they're good at. Their career gets destroyed. They get taken off the telly. Their football career goes down the pan. And I always think, is that right? Is that right that we vilify these people who are talented for what they do? Because there's not what I've noticed in life. I always use this line of where did all the cowboys go? And I talk about like people like Steve McQueen and some of the greats, the Sinatras and everything like that. We don't really have people like that anymore. And I know the world's changed, but there aren't. what I'm trying to say is it's not like you can replace a talent with another talent. It's not always the case. And sometimes I think we destroy our talents with the, look at what they did. Look at what they did. They stole that loaf of bread when they were 5. I know they're 40 now and they're really talented, but they stole a loaf of bread when they were 5. Never put them on the telly again. And it's almost like we build these people up and they're talented, and then we destroy them because they made a mistake. And depending on what that mistake is, does it need to be the thing that defines them and takes them away and has them vilified? I just think everybody does things. Everybody does things. And we're not very good as a society. And I didn't want to use society today. I wanted to say but I've used it now. We're not very good at society at dealing with people making mistakes, because there is this myth put out there by these prats that you've got to be perfect. Well, you tell me a person that was perfect. You tell me a person that's perfect, and maybe we can start living to that way. But nobody's perfect. So why do we vilify and destroy people who are talented, who've made a mistake? Surely everybody makes a mistake. And I'm not saying I've purposely not used names here, because there are people that have done things that they deserve to be in prison for, and that's where they will go. But there are people who've made mistakes and get vilified and trolled and everything like that, like none of us have made mistakes, if you know what I mean. That's what I wanted to say. Favourite go-to meal depends on the mood. And any relationship to Scandinavia? Yeah, I was married to Sweden for about 5 years, but it didn't work. No, I haven't. I'm being a twat. What did you realise about... Yeah, I've done that one. Ever broke a bone, says Mathieu Moulin. No! Touch wood. I've never broken a bone. It makes me sick, because the one that comes to mind, there's 2. I got smashed around the head with a baseball bat when I was about 9. I woke up like Rocky Balboa with the biggest black eye I've ever had. Didn't break a bone. And fell onto a train, hit my shin on the step, and looked down. I had a massive hole in my jeans, and I thought my leg's not going to look much better. Could see the bone, didn't break it. So no, I'm going to break a bone. The older you get, the more brittle you get, don't you? But I never did. And I saw some bad injuries playing football as well when I was growing up. Thanks everyone for watching. I do enjoy cooking, but I don't get time to do it as much. It is quite therapeutic. Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching anyway. Smash a like if you enjoyed it. A little bit longer than normal, but nice to have it back. I enjoy doing it. I need to do it more. I don't know how I get myself to do this more. I want to do it every week, but I need to do it more. So chuck some questions in, smash a like, tell everyone about it. If it gets loads of views, I'll definitely start doing more, because that's just how needy I am. No, I'm only joking, but I do need to do more of them. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll speak to you all soon.